At the beginning of the movie, all of the citizens of a gorgeous city are blissful because their every wish comes true, just as if they were living in a magical place. Everything that had happened in this city before a major conflict had ended. The clouds covered the city and the sun never came out again. Everything that had happened in this city before a major conflict had ended. Peter had been rescued by a soldier who was now rearing him like a son. Peter is sent to the market with money at this time, but instead of food, he finds a red tag. He gives in and goes inside, where he begins questioning that woman in exchange for food and money. This lady was well versed in Peter's lore. Peter was taken aback by all he saw. The teen assures Peter that her ailing sibling will pull through. Peter was taken aback since the soldier claimed that he and his entire family had been killed during the conflict. The girl explains to Peter that since you've only given him 1 penny, he could only answer your question once in order to keep things manageable. Considering your query, you pause. In the end, Peter asks the girl, "How can I meet my sister now?" After giving it some serious thought, the girl explains that an elephant may arrange a meeting between you and your sibling. Peter's day completely tanked once he heard such a moronic statement. He is leaving and returning home. As a result, even after returning home, he was still reprimanded for going on a march instead of bringing meals. A woman, he informs the soldier, has told him that his sister is still alive, and that he may communicate with her by utilizing an elephant. But the soldier insists that it's all a fabrication. In addition, the soldier was relating a tale of another soldier who was not unlike himself. He used to make a daily ritual out of reading a book that made him cry. This completely diverted his focus from the conflict at hand. I took that book from him, now he's a formidable warrior. The soldier told Peter this anecdote to impress upon him the importance of avoiding his weaknesses on the battlefield. According to the soldier, I saw your mother and sister right before my eyes. There's no need to search for things that can't possibly exist in our current reality. Peter's punishment of marching at night wakes the neighbors below him at his apartment block. Peter gets a call telling him he shouldn't work so hard at night. Peter had a lot of respect for his neighbors. This is why he shares the news of his sister's survival with his next-door neighbor. The man takes in what he says and admits that the woman may be telling the truth and that you may end up with your sister after all. The next scene cuts to a magician performing for the audience. No one appreciated his stupid magic. This caused him a great deal of stress, and now he's calling a woman to perform his final trick. This time he'd read a particularly potent spell from the Book of Magic. His curse restored the city's former splendor, and it no longer looked so awful. Perhaps, though, his spell wasn't fully cast just yet. The tables had turned on his wizardry. This results in a very large elephant crashing down on the woman. When they see the elephant, people panic and flee the area. Peter once dreamt he was playing with his sister, and it was a vivid dream. He wakes up from this dream feeling quite uneasy and sets up another date with the same woman. Whoever it was that told him his sister was still alive was this woman. When he arrived, however, he found not only that woman gone but also his tent gone. Does he try to find out where the girl who was sleeping here yesterday went from the locals? However, nobody was aware of it. In the course of their conversation, he learns that an elephant was brought here for a magic act. Hearing this, he was reminded of what the young lady had stated before when she'd claimed that her sister could be kidnapped by an elephant. Since there were no elephants in his hometown, he at first dismissed this as absurd. But he started to believe the female after that. He joyfully reports to his neighbor that an elephant has arrived in town. Who knows, maybe I'll meet the elephant's sibling. The other guy was thrilled to hear this and responded positively by saying, "Sure, why not? This is possible, and there's no need to worry, I'll do anything I can to help you meet that elephant." Then he approaches the soldier and explains everything to him. The soldier, though, remained unconvinced. But the man who is going to help Peter is now the one who visits the palace to inquire about the elephant. The elephant is essentially a prisoner, he learns later. But soon, he'll be dead, for fear that this elephant poses a menace to the locals. There was an issue here. Now, the man writes to the monarch of this kingdom, pleading for assistance for Peter after a massive elephant had crashed through the city. They should visit our city if they are interested in seeing it. This man's idea was succeeding because the monarch shared his appreciation for high drama. By commanding him to keep the elephant alive, the monarch had chosen to pay him a personal visit. This city goes out of its way to make royal visitors feel at home. The elephant in front of them is also beautifully colored. The elephant, however, was developing an allergy to this particular hue. That's what set him off, by the way. Fearing that Peter, who stood there, knew everything, everyone was going to flee. And he wets a towel to begin wiping the chemical powder out of his eyes. The elephant realizes this and relaxes as a result. The group also acknowledges that the elephant poses no threat. The elephant now fills his own trunk with water and drinks from it. After that, he settles in for a nice long rest. Peter's ability to put the elephant's fears at ease impressed the area's leader. "We have a job for you," he continues, "if you want it. You're welcome to stay here and tend to the elephant." Peter, though, tells him that he is unable to care for the elephant. "I'd like to take this elephant along. I can meet my sister thanks to this elephant." The king cuts him off before the head can answer no, saying to Peter, "I'll give you this elephant if you can do the 3 impossible things I've set for you." In the first mission, Peter faced off against a particularly menacing soldier. For this purpose, the king also provides him with his own sword. But now he couldn't even lift the sword to his shoulder. Peter's next-door neighbor comes over and trains him as well. We finally get to meet Peter's sister after all these years. He is still living then. An elephant appears to him in his dream as well. He then breaks the news to his sister. His sister, though, encourages him to put the matter to rest and get some rest. In his dream about an elephant, he witnessed the arrival of his family and the subsequent separation from them in order to get here. Worried, he decides to get out of bed. This time, however, Peter stood in his path. Peter hands him a map of his hometown and tells him, "Where exactly is my sister?" However, the elephant was not able to comprehend his words. For this reason, Peter is eager to depart from that location, despite his initial resistance. In the morning, he would face off against a soldier. Now that competition time had arrived, he could only use 2 legs. A man 3 times his size stood before him, ready to battle. Once Peter learns the soldier's identity, he is immediately intrigued. The soldier's tale he'd been told came to memory. How he took a cowardly soldier and made him heroic by banishing his cowardice from within. This soldier was the one that was sent to battle Peter. Instead of confronting him, Peter thought, his vulnerabilities need to be exposed so they can be countered. The soldier's Achilles heel was reading, so it would be appropriate to put the same book in front of him and defeat him with it. Peter, realizing this, flees away from the area with the soldier hot on his heels. With considerable effort, Peter made it home, but he managed to save himself. He then presents the book to the soldier. The novel brought back memories of his mother for the soldier. Peter also succeeded in his first assignment since he was able to control his emotions. Even the king couldn't believe what he was seeing. The next assignment is for him to fly and demonstrate. There was no way this could happen. I don't understand how he's managed to pull this off. As Peter approaches the elephant with a water bucket, he addresses the beast, saying, "What I want to know is if tomorrow I will be able to fly. However, rest certain that I will get you out of here and back to your loved ones." The elephant hears hope in his words. He offers Peter confidence that he will succeed since he likes his suit. And in this way, after a lengthy dormancy, hope was reawakened in the heart of one of this city's residents. The power of optimism is real, after all. Everyone starts hoping things will go back to how they were, when faith that their city could be restored to its former glory was renewed. Something had changed in their abandoned city. It then cuts to Peter's sister, who learns that an elephant has arrived in town. She runs to notify her sister that the elephant from her recurring dream has arrived in real life. "Sister, I need to go to the city," she begs. When Peter is in the air, her sister agrees with him. This is where the military comes in to intervene. The results of such action are fatal, but he would not take advice from anyone else. Both Peter and the soldier feel sad as Peter leaves the soldier's home. He reflected back on his first encounter with Peter. Both Peter and his sister made it through the conflict unscathed. Peter was given to the army by a sister. Rather, he chose to keep his sister close by. The soldier was now responsible for Peter. However, the soldier was obligated to actively participate in the conflict. He took a step forward, and an enormous explosion occurred immediately behind him. The soldier speculates that it was here that both his sister and Peter's sister perished. Peter, the city's tallest structure, is presented to us before the scene cuts. When he leapt from that height, a parachute suddenly materialized from his backpack. As a result, he began to soar through the air. This parachutist fashioned his own chute. When they saw his creation, everyone was taken aback. He had completed his second mission successfully. Even more excited to meet him was his sister, who had traveled to the big metropolis to visit. To her surprise, Peter turned out to be her sibling all along. Peter's third mission from the king is to make the city's ruler chuckle, because the monarch recently found out that the city mayor hadn't laughed in years. He has not smiled or laughed since the battle took his brother's life. Peter finds this work challenging as well. How can he get the mayor to laugh? As he advanced, he joined the elephant. Then his sister approaches the elephant with a question. "I don't understand why you keep showing up in my dreams." Before Peter figures out what's going on or gets a sign from the elephant, his sister comes and rescues him from the situation. The third and last assignment that Peter was given arrived the following day. He makes everyone laugh with an offbeat joke. There was total silence when I told this joke. The mayor's chuckle sounds like. To help Peter win, she chuckles. However, the king was beginning to catch on to his slyness, and in this sense, he labels Peter a loser. Grief has hit Peter hard. The king orders that the elephant be restrained and removed from the area. Peter insists that everyone pause for a moment. The king, he says, must abandon the elephant. "My first motivation for hiring an elephant was to make the trip to see my sister. You believe, however, that this elephant is part of a larger family unit. Now I must return him to his loved ones. Let me have him, if you please." When the monarch, however, refuses to hear him out, the elephant had a fit of rage. He then dribbles some of the weird water upon the king's head. When he sees this, the mayor of the city joins the crowd in laughter. Just a minute ago, Peter was on the losing end. His focus shifted from losing to winning. Assuming the king was on board with this, Peter got the mayor of the city to crack a smile. Peter cheerfully balances the beast atop his skull. Everyone there seemed ecstatic. We cut away from the action now to see the prison's physical site, the dungeon where the magician is being held, which is why the elephant was in the city. Peter approaches him and pleads with him to use his powers to return the elephant to its owner, but the magician insists that his tricks are useless. When it comes to my wizardry, I have zero faith. The woman next to him then emphatically reassures him that his magic is effective. You worked your magic, and now our city is just like it was before. This proves that your spell is effective. There are a lot of individuals who came here because they thought something good would happen if they visited that elephant. As a result of this optimism, the city resembles its former self. His remarks gave new hope to the magician. He now stood firmly in the spotlight, unafraid of anyone's judgment. He rereads some of his spells, and the elephant is no longer in that area. People are overjoyed to see all this. They feel even more confident that everything is possible in this place. They believe the clouds were dissipating over their city because of the power of positive thinking. After a long period of time, their city finally saw daylight again. The only problem was that Peter had no idea where or who his sister was. Currently, his sibling is standing before him, demanding an explanation for why he sent the elephant back. I was going to meet my maker atop that elephant. The sister, upon seeing him, now removes him from the area. At long last, the elephant appears. Which of Peter's parents had reared him? The sight of his sister brings back a flood of memories for the soldier. He also recalls thinking that his sister and Peter's sister would not have been killed in the explosion if it hadn't occurred on the day of the conflict. The soldier apparently knew that Peter's sister existed. Peter had located his sister at last. They enjoyed their first meeting very much. Everything in the city has returned to its previous state of beauty and possibility. The happy reunion of the elephant with his relatives is depicted as well. But he will never forget Peter. Over and over, the last person he sees in these tales is Peter.